This is the Phylanice Nashe Experience Podcast. Hello, world, and welcome to the Phylanice Nashe Experience Podcast, an audio series of lighthearted and sometimes third eye opening conversations on entrepreneurship, leadership, and relationships from the African American perspective. I am your host, Phylanice Nashe. Welcome. Today, we are chatting with a dynamic mother-daughter duo who professionally use their own personal journeys to empower individuals to find their purpose, reach professional and personal success, and ultimately live their best lives and to be their phenomenal selves. Personally, they continue to strengthen their mother-daughter bond. And so let's just jump right into it and hear their story. Let's welcome to the show Rita Mitchell and Brittany Mitchell. Woo!
Hey,
Thank you.
Hey, ladies, phenomenal ladies. How are you both doing this morning?
Wonderful.
We're fabulous. We're
Good.
Thank you.
I'm glad we were introduced, and I'm glad we are all together this morning. We've got a lot to unpack and a great story to tell. So first off, I've been asking my guests to speak a little bit about how COVID has impacted them, both personally and professionally. Tell us and share with us a little bit about how COVID has done that for the two of you.
Yeah, a lot happened in COVID. But COVID, I'll start, and then we always go back and forth. But it gave us the opportunity. I call it a mother-daughter sabbatical. I mean, we started living together, and when the world shut down, I was living alone in New York. And so mom and I, mom moved up and we spent time together, and it really was a time for reflection and a time for inspiration. And so, we wrote a second book during COVID. I mean, we started a brand, we started a fashion line, we're writing a cookbook. It was like, we were brought together by difficult circumstances, but that being together really flourished our creative and our creativity and our creative spirit. I don't know, Mom.
Yeah. And I would say the same thing. COVID, as many of the horrible things that were happening, the other side of this is that it also forced you to slow down because, we were in New York and the city shut down. You shouldn't be out. There's masks, there's this and that. Mm-hmm. And then you have more time. So, the asset of time becomes something you can touch. And then it's like, well, what are we going to do? We say we're Pinky in the Rain. What are we going to do, Pinky? What are we going to do today? Yeah. And so it really created an opportunity to create and to have enough time to think about it and really put what we've learned, wisdom, and what our real purpose and passion, it really allowed us to emphasize that.
And a lot of what you guys do currently as a duo deals with people's passion and all of that. But let's rewind a little bit and talk about your journeys to how we got here. Mm-hmm. So Rita, I will start with you. Tell us a little bit about your background and about your personal journey and how we've come to this current time.
So I spent 40 years in financial services. Obviously, I'm president and CEO of Rita and Mitchell LLC, which is what we're doing today. But prior to that, I was 40 years in financial services. And in that time frame, I sold insurance. I was an investment advisor for 15 years. I started my own insurance and securities brokerage firm, which I ran successfully for 11 and a half years, and then decided to go back into corporate America. And a lot of things were happening in the industry in terms of technology and deregulation. And when my last position, I retired as executive vice president for now was First Horizon, and now they're being purchased by a Canadian company. But it was First Tennessee to First Horizon, and I managed private banking for Middle Tennessee. So 40 years in financial services. And so my journey from the beginning, and my degree is in fashion merchandising. And that was an accident as well, started engineering. But my whole journey in financial services was kind of an accident. But it was what I should be doing. I had the skill and the talent to do it. But I was 40 years ago, I'm the only Black, I'm the only woman, I'm the only everything. And every doggone thing that I tried to do was a dead no. And so my journey, which is in the summation of the book, is that, I'm in control of my success. I'm the one that makes those decisions. I decide how much money I'm going to make. I decide how this is going to look. And nobody gets to tell me what it is I'm going to do, how much talent that I have. And nobody's going to say no to me because I can make my own yeses. And so, that's my journey in a nutshell, and then retired early to do the rest. And I'll let, Brittany can dive in here too.
Yes. Brittany, go ahead and tell us your background, and then, kind of how this thing meshed together and it come together in 2018. Yes.
My passion has always been art, and which is now it's like we're finally revolving back to art. But my background is in marketing and advertising and international business. And so I got my undergrad at University of Tennessee in marketing, international business, and French. I got my international MBA from the Dartmouth School of Business, and I've been doing marketing and sales ever since. But I've always had this passion. I've always had this love, and I've been at lots of companies. When Mom retired and said she was going to write a book, I was on the committee in Bloomington, Illinois, bringing in a TEDx talk, and I was like, "Mom, can I put your name in the hat?" She was like, "I don't know, I don't want to do it, but you can put it in, but they're not going to choose me."
I'm like,
they're
really
totally going to choose me.
I'm like, really not.
They chose her, and I was like, yes. Okay, now what you need? Okay, we need to get your logo. We need to do a strategy session. You need a website. You need a Twitter handle. She's like, what's a Twitter? It was like, whatever. Like, it was like my passion, but then I got to do it we're so close. I got to do it for our relationship. And then it just grew from there. Once we figured out we could self-publish, once we figured out we could do all these things by ourselves, it was like, just try it.
It's on.
So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but we've just been going ever since.
Yeah, no, it does. It's a great beginning to this story that we're about to unpack here on the show, because the first and foremost, I have to say, Rita, you said you retired, but Brittany just ran down 50 things that that's not retirement.
I know.
You started a whole nother empire.
It turned into that. It was supposed to be, I knew I was going to write a book. And when I made the decision to retire early, it's like, I love to work. And then it got to, how do you want to work the next 10 years? You want to do what you're doing. You want to have control. I mean, how do I really want to work? How do I want to live my life the next 10 years?
Okay.
And, things were changing. And I said, I think, I know I want to write a book. I think I want to work for myself. I mean, I'm like, I don't want to spend my last 10 years doing corporate America like this. I think I want control back. And I think I want to do some things. And then, I know I want to write a book. And that one thing then started turning into, it started turning into things. Became a monster, and which is great. But that's what happens when your work is your joy and your joy is your work, then it's not like work. And it's like, I thought you were retired. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like, kind of I am, but I'm kind of not, but it's joyful work. So it's different.
Yes. So let's dive into the collaboration piece. So you said you officially retired from financial services in the corporate world in 2018. Yeah. And you found this other purpose, which started with the thought of, I want to write a book. So let's speak on, first off, the title of the books, and which I think you have there. So the first one is Own Your Phenomenal Self, a guide on character, success, and leadership.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing. Then we had all of this. And then we have a second book that was published in 2021, which is Spoken Art, Be Too Brave to Back Down. Yeah. So it sounds like the first book was the beginning of this mother-daughter duo collaboration. Yeah. And the third tenet of this podcast is relationship. So I'm ready to dive into your relationship. Okay. We're in the all in the family section of this, the creation of the mother-daughter duo. Yeah. So dive a little bit into what was the why behind getting in business together, and did it just kind of happen? Did it just kind of fall into place?
Well, I'm going to start, and then I'll turn it to Brett. And so when I read Who Moved My Cheese back in 1986 and 87, I was reading, I was, struggling to be a great salesperson and all the learnings. I read that book, and it was an hour, maybe an hour and a half read at max. And when I read it, it made me stop, reflect, and change. And so I knew back then, I said, I want to write a book like that. I want it to be short. I want you to read it, and I want you to stop, reflect, and change. And then I had an opportunity when I was still at the bank to write for Black Enterprise and some contributing articles. And Brittany and I were, we're close. And so I would be helping her in her corporate world.
I was in my corporate career, and I really wanted to take this marketing journey and move up in the ranks and go to manager, director. I mean, the goal was CMO. And so I'm trying to get into a leadership position. I got that position at a Fortune 500 company. And then it was like every day I was getting my butt kicked. And I was like, hello, is the Oracle available for a chat? Because I call Mom the Oracle because her advice is so incredible. It feels like, like the Matrix, like, you are the one. I mean, here's what you need to do. It's like her advice it's not something you would guess, but when you do it, mountains move and things change. And I started to have really great success. And every time we did that, I was like, you should put it in the book. It should be an article in the book.
Yeah.
And so then, I mean, she's helping me, but she's writing a book, but I'm doing her website. It all just melded together.
Yeah, it melded together. So the articles, what I ended up writing on Your Phenomenal Self were the nuggets that were transformative to me. And what was so shocking about Britt's journey is that, I didn't have the right degree. I didn't have a graduate degree. I didn't have all of this stuff. I didn't have the way she was raised. I didn't have all that. And I assumed that if my child had all that, this journey would be easier. And that she wouldn't go to a corporate job and get her butt kicked every day and have to learn everything with the hard school of knocks. And here is my child in a Fortune 50 company getting the same butt kicking every freaking day. And I'm like, I cannot believe you have all of this and this is still here. And then so what we wrote in the book On Your Phenomenal Self is about the nuggets of what I had learned that were still applicable, that are transformative at the time that you need it. And so it was automatically a family collaboration because I was writing the book, but it was about what she needed to hear and do, and they turned into articles. And so that's kind of the beginning of that.
And then when we transitioned into the second book, it was really, I have always had in my heart's desire to sell my art, but it takes so long to do each piece. I was never like, I'm going to go to the art fair and haggle with people. It was like, I love this. I'll do it as gifts for people, but I don't feel comfortable selling the actual pieces. And so then when I decided to create art in our living room, I wanted to create 3 strong Black women. And you can see them on the back of this book. And so these 3 women, I was like, it's COVID. I'm stuck at home. I want to do art how I want to do it and not how I was taught to do it and just what's going to make me happy every day. I painted these 3 strong Black women, and then Mom saw them and she was moved. She said, oh my goodness, I'm moved to speak. And in 3 days, she wrote 3 poems. And she opened a Google Doc. I didn't know she knew what a Google Doc was. And she was like, I'm writing poetry. And then she was like, this is a book. And we should put our affirmations in here. And it should be a light to those in the darkness, because a lot of people are in the dark right now. And she coined the term spoken art, too brave to back down. And so then from there, it was like, well, Brittany, you should be able to sell your prints of your art. I was like, well, I sort of have an art store that I started 5 years ago and didn't do anything with. So then we turned my art from personal living room to a book to now we have a whole fashion line, because there's a website that allows you to upload your art and then you can put it on, we got like water bottles here. You can do like shirts,
shower curtains,
dresses,
socks, everything.
And so then suddenly we launched this, and then she has a fashion merchandising degree. And so
I forgot to use
this collaboration, it kept happening. And now through the books and the power, we can do what we want to do to live our best lives.
Yeah.
So you have pulled together this brand. Who is all of this for? You guys, it like you brainstormed, you put it into action very quickly and collabed very quickly. So who's your target audience? Who is this for? And who are you trying to inspire?
No. I'm going to answer this question because this is a great question that no one's asked, because it's a funny answer. This is all for my children, her grandchildren. She's so
generational wealth.
Look, she's so into her future grandchildren that I start calling my future children. Well, the grandchildren are really going to want to read. I mean, like, oh my goodness, they're not my grandchildren. They're my children. They haven't even here. But like again, the cookbook is about a generational, not losing what we learned. Mom's from Mississippi, not losing the recipes that her grandmother taught her and passing it down. This corporate America book I said, if it helped no one but me, it was worth it. It is helping our family. This art, it's helping our family. And as we do this, as we help the generations, and like you said, generational wealth, generational intelligence, it also happens to help other people, but we're the target. Other people are not the target market. It is mom, it's me, it's my future children, her future grandchildren.
And then I will layer in, this is Brittany's take on my take of her children and my grandchildren. When I wrote it, the first book is really about empowering young women, because I've also mentored my whole career and been mentored by people. And so the first book really is targeted to young women, say, 25 to 45 in a corporate environment. But what's interesting is that that's where it started, but it's really a universal message, because success is universal. And then the art, the book on the second book, we were like, we're going to empower, this would be good for the young girls. This would be good for Black girls. And then it's like, it'd be good for any girl. I'm like, it would be good. It'd be good for any person. And so the messages, they start out focusing on something, but because the message is universal, in that both of the books, we call them companion books, because at the end of the day, you can't have joy without success. And we don't believe you can have success without joy. And so the books are a companion of how do you find your passion and purpose, layer it in with practicality and lifestyle. How do you find success in a corporate environment? And so it's a universal message, but specifically it was written for women, because we are women, and it's so difficult, especially being Black women, to succeed in a corporate environment. And so again, I don't know if that's really answering it, because the message, it continues to grow into a bigger message.
So you mentioned, and I've read this in the spoken art book as well too, a transition from a dark place to the light. What is the meaning behind that, and how can these assets help someone move from a dark place into the light?
Yeah, and so I'll start there. I divorced after 40 years of marriage. And I guess it's a year and a half, pulling on 2 years now, which was completely unexpected. It was a horrible experience. And so, but in all of that, there was a point, and Brittany had done affirmations, that I really had to put a stake in the ground about who I was, so I wasn't losing myself. I felt I was losing myself. And so the affirmation process is really putting a stake in the ground about who you are, no matter what's happening to you, and who you're going to be, no matter what has happened. And so the affirmations bring light into the darkness, because then you have a beginning spot. And then I'll let Brittany talk about her affirmations, because I got that whole process from her to begin with. You can talk about that, Britt.
Yeah, mom always says you don't want to get lost in someone else's sauce. And I'm a firm believer in everyone has things they're going through. You don't know people's situation, and someone can look super happy on Instagram and be like dying on the inside. And so I believe in affirmations, and there was a time probably 6 years ago when I was in a really dark place. I was living in a city I didn't want to live in. I didn't really have a good group of friends. I felt very alone. And so I was like, okay, who am I? And what are the things that I believe about myself? And so I wrote 15 affirmations, and something simple. It might be just like, one of them is, my heart is open, love pours in and out. Another one is, the universe and everything and everyone in it are conspiring on my behalf and for my benefit. And so there were just what do I need to hear? I'm beautiful, bright, and bold. I made little scrapbook paper. I tied it together with string, and I hung it on my mirror in my bathroom. And every morning before I went to work, I read each one. And at first you just kind of feel like a loser, and you feel a little bit crazy because you target yourself. But then after a while, it was like, oh, okay. And then positive things are happening in your life, and you're like, oh, okay, I feel better. I believe more. Okay, now what do I want? And that's when we get into vision boarding.
Vision boarding, yeah.
So I created vision.
Yes, yeah.
I put New York on it. Now I live in New York, and I totally it wasn't like I wasn't applying to jobs, but it wasn't until I put it on the vision board and drew a painting of it and believed, and then allowed, if you believe in God or the universe or whatever you believe in, to then allow it to happen. then it changed my life. And so then, mom going through her thing, I was like, we need to do a new vision board.
I knew it because I had done a vision board before.
Who are you by yourself?
Yeah. And so that's why the book is called Spoken Art, because Brit's art spoke to me. And when we said spoke to me, because I was in a dark place, which means I love to write. I had stopped writing. I didn't have anything to say. And then when she wrote through, when she did the pictures, it was like, oh my goodness, I think I want to write. I think they're speaking to me. And I want to speak back to the art. And that's where it came from. I said, I think this is like spoken art. And she's like, I don't think that's, let me check. She Googled it.
I couldn't find it.
And I said, because it's like, I don't know if you're familiar with Jill Scott's.
Oh yeah, I love Jill Scott.
Right.
Love Jill Scott. You mentioned the name of her song in spoken art, and I was like, I love that song too.
I know. And when I first heard it, it was many years ago. And when I first heard it, she starts out doing poetry, and she's so in love that then it moves her to sing. And I said,
chorus, yes,
to chorus, and it was like, your art has moved me to write, and I want to speak to the art, and that's why I came spoken art. And then Too Brave to Back Down is that I'm too brave,
and that's on Mom's
to be a loser.
Board.
I mean, I'm too brave to be lost in somebody's sauce. I'm too brave to be this person. So all of that is really powerful. And if you are in a dark place, or if you have lost your creative spark, or if there's, because people read the book and like, wait a minute, I wanted to write a book. I wanted to do a podcast. And so it's creating a spark, because it reminds you that there's a creative thing that you really wanted to do that kind of got lost. So that's what that means.
Well, the two of you, first of all, exude this positive energy. I'm all about it, because I'm like, and we talked, and I'm like, I don't feel the spark right now to write a book, and I'm like, just reading a little bit in spoken art about your process and how you've done that, and then in your self-publishing, correct?
Yeah. Right. Yes, we are.
And that is an art in and of itself.
Right. Yes.
But you guys are inspirational in that you're using exactly what you are telling us to do. You've used it within yourselves.
Yes.
Number one. And you are keeping it real when you say it doesn't just happen overnight. Like, this is a repetitive process.
It is.
So how is Rita P. Mitchell LLC helping people go through this process? You're putting all of these assets out there, but I know that you do speaking and mentoring and all of this stuff. So how are you helping people navigate this entire process to get from the dark to the light, storyboarding and all of that stuff? Tell us a little bit about the business side.
Yeah, I'll start. You layer in. I mean, really what we do, it's almost like a consultation. Like, you tell us what you need. We work with individuals, we work with organizations, we do a lot of different stuff. But when we work with an organization, we're like, what's happening? What do your employees need? Is it, are you worried about the Great Resignation and people not staying? Are people burnt out? Are they not inspired? Are they not engaged at work? Where's the gap? Is it networking? Is it the virtual component? They tell us the gap, and then we talk through, okay, these are our 2 books. These are the chapters. These are the stories. A lot of what's resonated right now is vision boarding and affirmations. So we've been doing workshops where you find your passion and purpose during the workshop, and we give you 60 days to create your own vision board. But yeah, we have a wide breadth of topics because of both of our backgrounds and experience. Whatever you're trying to inspire people or teach people how to do, we can create a workshop and help them get there.
Yeah, and I would say, again, the vision boarding is big because people are really stuck. And vision boarding is very powerful. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, speaking words into power. And so we said the vision board is the biggest affirmation you can make. And so we talk about affirmations give you belief in yourself that you're worthy of what you put on the vision board, because you got to believe all this stuff, and then you got to activate the thing. But each chapter, and there are 13 chapters in the first book, it ends with there is no change without change. So with my career, and then Brittany's marketing experience, we have generational knowledge. And so there's a breadth of knowledge between us that can be customized to what you need. We just did a session with Deloitte, and they wanted, they're coming back, and they wanted to talk about the books, but they wanted specifically networking. How do our people come back from COVID and feel comfortable networking. They've been out of how do you network virtually? And so we created, there was an interview on the books and that kind of thing. But then
there's a chapter in the book called Mastering the Connect.
Mastering the Connect.
So we turned that into a hybrid in-person and virtual networking session.
Yeah. And, it's like there's another chapter, one monkey don't stop, no show. But at the end of the day, the last chapter is there's no change without change. So we customize. And so we do workshops, keynote speaking. Obviously, we can customize to the need. On vision boarding, it's very powerful. I do that individually for clients as well as, we did the vision boarding for Pinterest. It was a 3,000 employees at global conference, 4 different time zones. How do you create how do you do vision boarding? And then they wanted us to, how do you use your pin board? How do you use the Pinterest pin boards to do that? So we created that for them. And so, again, there's a full gamut. And then, obviously in financial services, I told Brittany, I'm old, I have an opinion about everything. And so, we can, we really are about, and what's the other thing we call is reset mindset. How do you, with COVID, there's a lot of opportunity. How do you renegotiate with your employer on how you want to work, where you want to work, and maybe grab another opportunity that wasn't there now. There's a lot. COVID has brought a lot of negative things, but there are a lot of opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so how do you reset your mindset? How do you want to work today? Where do you want to live? Because, you can do virtual stuff. We live in New York. Do you want to live on the beach? Do you want to live in Florida? Do you want to live in the mountains? Can you renegotiate how your workspace lives? Maybe this is a time to start a business. Can you start a business in your current job? Because now you have a virtual workspace. So we talk about reset mindset. And again, all of these are about helping people to figure out how to live their best life. And to live your best life, you have to understand your passion and purpose and layer that in with practicality and lifestyle. And if I can help you do that, if we can help you do that, then you're on your way to live a very fulfilling life. And that is the stop and the pause and redirect and decide is what journey, where do you want to end up? And we're so busy showing up and clocking in and clocking out and getting stuff. We end up getting places that we didn't really plan to be here. And now we're trying to fix it versus really owning where you want to go in your journey. And that's what we're about with this company.
Yeah, exactly. Very powerful, very powerful. And I've never done a vision board. So I may reach out to
Please.
you guys because it sounds amazing and it sounds transformational and it sounds very inspirational as well. Maybe that'll kickstart that drive for my book.
Yeah, it is. It does. It does those things.
So one of the questions that I had originally on our script, because we do talk about the family dynamic when you're working together in a business. I've worked with my husband for over 20 years in the family businesses, and there's always ups and downs with that. Right. Tell our audience, what are some of the do's and the don'ts that you have found in working with family and how to keep the harmony?
Yeah, I would say, again, like we said earlier, okay, so we make a joke, we're Pinky and the Brain, because I used to watch that show as a kid. And it's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do tonight? The same thing we do every night, try and take over the world. And Pinky and the Brain have very different personalities and they process very differently, but they have the same goal. And so my mom and I, we have a very different way of how, she's internally processes things. She'll be quiet because she's thinking and I'm like, hello. And I externally process. And so we both have to respect how we prepare for things, how we plan things, how we organize things, knowing we both have the same goal. So I think a big do is I err on the side of over communicating and then saying I'm doing this because this is how I think. Or when I'm stressed out, I need to organize something or create something, being very vocal of why am I doing what I'm doing? And then how is it impacting what we're doing together? And I think that's been the best way for us to keep things moving forward, even if you process differently than I do. I know what you do.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And then I guess my core is that I'm always her mom. And so at the end of the day, the purpose of the purpose is to create a business that she owns and can step into. And so, I can't wallow in my feelings getting hurt or my ego's so big, because the purpose of the purpose is the purpose of the purpose is about her. So that always brings me back. And then we also want to make sure that we're having fun, because if we're not having fun, we really shouldn't be doing it. And so, if we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, how this is going to be fun, how we both are going to enjoy it, how this impacts a legacy business for this family, then that's the weed in and weed out. And like I said, I have to pull myself back and say, hey, the purpose of the purpose is about this kid. So you need to get over, you need to get under, you need to go around, you need to figure this out, because if we walk away and we can't work together, that defeats the whole thing. I mean, I could have just done my own thing and had a V8, but this is about, this is about a family legacy. This is about creating generational wealth. And so you have to work with that step in mind. And so that's how I put things back into context.
Now tell a quick story, because we can't get so caught up, and we both really want, like people are like, what's your dream? I'm like, my dream is mom and I, we have a TV show. It's a travel cooking show, Food Network, Netflix, Hulu. We're available. This is a dream. And I'll tell a quick story about having fun, not having fun. So we film ourselves cooking sometimes. I film us cooking, and I create fake TV shows. And one Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I was like, okay, we're going to do it. I set it up, set up a tripod. This is the script. We're doing it. And mom does what she always does, which is cook greens. And she almost sliced her finger off because she cut her hand pretty bad. And because I had turned Thanksgiving cooking, which is our favorite thing, into something stressful, trying to make production. And so then I realized, like, okay, we can film, we can have fun, we can film our family moments, but I don't want our family moments to turn into like a business meeting. And so I had to take a step back and go, okay, we got to still have fun. And if it's not fun, we don't need to film. And if we're having fun, then maybe I can film a little bit. So
yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And for me, the takeaway from this is understanding the role. Like you both defined what you are looking for and what you're looking to get out of this, but you keep it lighthearted, you keep it fun, and you communicate that. So that's key. Communication is key. So I need to ask about the cooking book. I need to ask about this food and those collard greens. So there's a cookbook I hear on the horizon. So tell us about what can we expect from Rita P. Mitchell LLC or Rita and Britt in the next 5 years? What's on the horizon?
Okay. Obviously the cookbook.
Well, obviously the cookbook is 70% done, but every time we're it's like I was going to finish it this quarter, and then we have another project, and it's like, oh my goodness, the cookbook keeps getting down, and I'm like, well, maybe it's because all these other things need to rise up so that we'll sell a lot of books. So we're a cookbook. We're probably gonna write some children's books. We want a travel cooking TV show, and we're working on some other things, but
I'd say the fashion line as well.
On the fashion line too. That's a vertical.
We have the fashion line that exists today through a separate company, but through the website I talked about. But we would like it to a point. I mean, that's mom's. Look, I get free fashion consulting every day, and I love it. But mom really should get paid for the work she's doing with me and herself. But we'd love to create our own fashion line. So I think that's on our horizon as well.
Yeah. So we have several verticals, and so the workshops speaking is a vertical, publishing is a vertical, and the cookbook is a family legacy cookbook, because I don't want to lose the knowledge of cooking, and people don't cook today, and it's a knowledge that I want my grandchildren, these invisible children, and my great grandchildren to know how to make gumbo. Man, I don't just you can't even find stuff in cookbooks, and so that's a vertical. We're gonna do hopefully a cooking travel talk show of some sort. So that whole thing again would be a vertical, and then the fashion itself. however we're going to end up doing that, where that goes. But so we've got the 4 different verticals, and it's just how deep and when the order of things makes sense for one to be in front of the other. Because like I said, the cookbook keeps like, we're writing the cookbook. We wrote this book in our book. It's like, here's a book. I'm like, oh, they're writing a cookbook. Now we got another book in front of the cookbook. What's up with this?
This is the thing. I'm going to break the cookbook down for you. It's like this. The best food my mom has ever cooked, there was no recipe involved. So now you see this conundrum. We have over 100 recipes in this cookbook, and it's designed, it's got pictures. I take pictures of every piece of food I eat. It's incredible. So here's the thing. People, we're trying to enable them to cook without a recipe,
which is what's so
hard.
So
how do you write a book with no recipe? How do you give people the skills without bogging them down with the recipe? So look, someone could come over right now. We could teach your mom could teach you how to make anything in the whole world with no recipe. But how do we get that to a book where people can experience it? So that's the finesse, is that we got plenty of recipes and they're wonderful, and her mom's food is always better than the recipe. So we're like,
yeah. So anyway, that's probably more you want to know, but that's what we're doing.
No, I know that's perfect, because I'm over here cheesing like, okay, Rita, when's the next time you're going to be in Nashville?
Oh yeah.
But legacy cooking it's very important. And I didn't realize that until I watched High on the Hog last summer.
Yeah, I know. I love that.
Oh, I mean, that movie did something to me. And I reached out to, a lot of African-American chefs, because I wanted to recreate that. I wanted to start that community dinner type of thing.
Yeah.
And, legacy cooks play a huge part in our cooking community.
I know.
And, I was lucky to find one who she recreated the movie, like the food in the movie, to a huge menu, and she infused the legacy recipes from her grandmother.
Yeah.
And her potato salad was reminiscent of my grandmother's potato salad.
Yeah.
And her greens tasted like my stepmom, my husband's stepmom's greens. It was just, it just tied everything together. So I say all that to say I am 100% down for the book and a tasting next time.
Okay, well, you're on the list.
You are in Nashville.
You're on the list. You're on the list.
Thank you. So we're getting close to the end of our time, and I wanted to give the two of you an opportunity to not only give a call to action to our listeners and viewers, but to just leave any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you want to drop on the audience.
Okay. Yeah, our call to action. I mean, buy the books. So first, we'll hold these back up. But it's Own Your Phenomenal Self, a guide on character, success, and leadership, and Spoken Art, Too Brave to Back Down. And like Mom said, one's about corporate career, it's success. The other's about finding joy and inspiration. And you have to have both to live your best life. So that's our call.
And where can the audience find those?
You can find them both on Amazon. They're both paperbacks on Amazon. And then if you want a hardback of Spoken Art, because it does have, art in it, the hardback is on Barnes & Noble.
Yeah. And I guess the wisdom that I would say, obviously about the books, and that is the title of the first book, which is Own Your Phenomenal Self, right? Mm-hmm. And the premise of the book is that you are enough, you have enough, because you were created with enough. And so therefore, what you desire and what you want in life is accessible, but there is no change without change. And if you don't have it today, then something has to change, and you're the owner of that change. And that's the message that I would say that we're telling people. And if somebody hears this, that if you are not where you want to be in life, and you don't have what you think you deserve in life, and you're not on the journey of where you want to end up, you own that. You own that, and nothing's going to change without change. So that's what I would say.
Thank you for that nugget of wisdom. I love it. You kept it real. You were like, own that. And I was sitting here like, yes.
You own it. It's not anybody else's fault. Nobody owns that. You own it. Nobody's fault. You're not a victim. You're a victim if you allow that to happen. But you own that journey. And only you're gonna, I'm going in the grave by myself. I own my own life. I own my own journey, and you got to step up to that plate if you're not happy.
Man, powerful, powerful. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, follow you on social media, have you guys come speak, have a vision board session, uh, any of the things, services, and products that you've spoken about in
Mhm.
today's episode,
Yeah.
how can they reach you? How can they follow you? How can they get that cookbook when it's ready?
Okay.
I'll do the rundown and then I'll give you the real deal. So the rundown is we have a website, ritapmitchell.com, and you've got all of our services there. You can see videos and all that good stuff, our bios, everything like that. We're on Twitter, so you've got Rita P. Mitchell, Brittany AM12. We're both on Twitter. We tweet not so regularly, but sure, we're there. And then obviously LinkedIn, especially for the professional stuff. If we're speaking at events, we'll be on LinkedIn, and you can send us messages. Rita P. Mitchell, LinkedIn, Brittany Mitchell, LinkedIn. Okay, here's the real deal. This is Instagram. If you want to see what we mean when we say live our best lives and how that shows up professionally, personally, we say we want to travel the world, we travel the world. We say we want to write books, we write books. We say we want to create cooking shows, we have little stories and little reels that looks like cooking shows. Instagram,
Because they are.
Brittany AM12 and Rita P. Mitchell, and that's what we do. And we go to the same places, but we have a different take on it. And this is what we mean. We're buying what we're selling, and we're living our best lives, and we're sharing that with the world. If you want to get your own vision board, or you want to book us for an event, or you want to have us come do a workshop for your organization, then you can email us at book@ritapmitchell.com. Those are
Awesome.
links.
Awesome. And do you guys have any upcoming interviews or live stream sessions or anything that you want to maybe shout out to the audience?
We have most of what we do is at the organization level, so it's internal for employees. So we have some things coming up, but again, I would say anything we have going on will be posted on LinkedIn or Instagram. If you can participate, then we'll have a link if it's external, but if it's for the organization, we may say, like with Deloitte, we're so happy to do this with them. We'll do it post-event.
Yeah, and a lot of the companies don't want us to post until it's done because it's internal. So they don't want people like, can I come too? So it's like you can post after it's done. Here's the logo, here's the thing. So we post. A lot of those are after versus on because it's internal, and that's where most of the stuff that we're doing now are coming from large corporations. The ERGs, they're trying to figure out how do they retain people. Turnover is really high. How do they inspire people to come back to the office? How do you make it work if you're going to do the virtual combination, virtual in person? And so a lot of that, and we had another company tell us they're tired of talking about resiliency. I mean, they need people to be fired up and be excited about work. And I'm like, we can help you. Okay, so a lot of that. So again, to answer your question, we're not really doing necessarily a public come to, here it is, show up, buy a ticket. We're doing this work, and then here's a video after the fact. This is what we did after the fact. So we'll post it after the fact.
Okay, cool. But they can follow all of that and catch all that on perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we've already gone over the social media handle, so everyone just keep following them and watch them and see, what's going on, because you'll find something that's going to resonate with you. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Well, ladies, I really want to thank you very much for joining us today. You have dropped some nuggets and inspiration that is valuable, and I appreciate you joining me today.
Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
We love your show, and so we're so honored to be a guest on your show today. So thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So again, I want to thank Rita Mitchell and Brittany Mitchell for joining me today. And I want to give a big thank you to you, my audience, for tuning into the Phylanice Nashe Experience podcast. You can find my show notes, my guest social media links, and links to resources mentioned in this episode on my website, PhylaniceNasheExperience.com. You can also find the show notes and social media links on our YouTube channel, the Phylanice Nashe Experience YouTube channel. Just click on the episode and you'll find all of the notes there. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and share the Phylanice Nashe Experience podcast on Apple Podcast and on YouTube. That's how you let me know that you like the show and what we're putting out. Make sure you follow me on social media, Phylanice Nashe on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I just want to make sure that everyone continues to stay safe and stay well. We'll see each other on the next episode. Take care. Peace.